So this is the Great Barrington Planning Board meeting for Thursday, May 25th, 2023. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and Governor Healy's March 29th, 2023 revised order extending remote participation by all members in any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the planning board will be conducted both in person and via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. For this meeting, members of the public and committee members may attend the meeting in person, or for those who wish to do so remotely, may by following the instructions on this agenda. For those who are not in person, every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In addition, pursuant to MGL 7C30A Section 20F, after notifying the chair of a public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listings of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. Per section 241(1) of the town code, except for procedural and housekeeping matters, town residents shall have the right to address a board on any item that requires a vote at a time before a board votes on that item. Such residents will be allowed as much time as the proponents of an item is permitted to have. All right, so we will do a roll. I guess we don't need to do roll call attendance, right? Okay, so those of us who are here, we're all here. Hooray.
Well, except for Jackie.
Everyone's here except for Jackie. Jackie is unable to make it. She's out of town today.
But she may be phoning in.
She said she was in traffic and that she was unable to call, and she was originally intending to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll get started. We don't have any Form As, do we? Thank you, Chris. So we'll move on to the minutes of May 11th, 2023. Do we have a motion to approve as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Second.
By Malcolm. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a special permit review and recommendation to the Zoning Board of Appeals on the special permit application from Burke Hills 77 LLC, care of Susan Cheval, to expand an existing non-conforming residential use on the second floor of 777 Main Street, Great Barrington, in accordance with sections 5.2 and 10.4 of the zoning bylaw. Good evening.
Peter Pusilowski for the applicant. 777 is the building that has the bagel store and Vim's expanding to take the rest of the first floor. There are 2 apartments upstairs. Now, when my clients bought it in 2016, they hired somebody to do a code review, and it was not determined that the apartments did not have an occupancy permit and had not been constructed with a building permit. So we're trying to correct that now. The first issue is asking for the special permit to expand the non-conforming use to include the existing apartments. And then we will need to deal with the building inspector on what upgrades are required to keep them. But this is the first step.
Okay, great. Thank you. We received the application materials. Does anyone have any questions for the applicant's representative? Are we all, first of all, we're all familiar with where this is located, right? I didn't realize there were apartments up above there.
I didn't either.
Yeah. So that was news to me.
So it's 3 doors on the back, but one of those I assume goes into an office space or something.
Yeah, Vim is taking over that office space. So there's 1 door that allows you to go upstairs.
Oh, okay.
So the reason for this is that it's not,
Non-conforming.
it's non-conforming because it's mixed use.
Structure is non-conforming.
The structure is non-conforming or the use is non-conforming?
Well, the structure dates back to an auto dealership in the 30s.
Oh,
The brick part of the building. was-
historic.
And it's a multi-use, and the expansion of that use requires a special permit. So we're asking for a special permit for the residential use. So we can see what we need to work out with the building inspector.
The building non-conformity is
Setbacks.
Setbacks,
Both
right?
sides. Yeah.
it's just the size?
I believe it's just the side setbacks.
I think that goes
Side
right up to the
setback from the front setback and both side setback.
All the front isn't one.
both front as well. Okay. And it's in the B2, right?
Is the front setback non-conforming?
And that's what they tell me, didn't
So-
measure it myself.
How does that work with the abutters? So on one side you'd have 25 feet, right? And then the other side, isn't that one like super, super close?
Well, it's 10 yard side setback would be to
But it's,
10 foot. I mean,
but it's,
I'm not sure what you're asking or why.
so the front setback, is it just straight 25 or is it the, if you have,
Or like a contextual,
yeah, so the two abutters. So one doesn't really have a setback, so you'd use 25. And then the other one, you would use whatever it is, which looks like practically like.
I'm not sure how that applies in that particular zone.
So, but shouldn't we be focusing on the use and not so much the area components? Only because I don't know what renovations you may need to have, and I don't know, you may need to come back for,
There won't be
an
a
area
journal
variance,
except
right?
for
For the fire escape.
yeah.
So does the fire escape doesn't trigger the. So is the special permit from is that just for the use?
Yes, you'll see there are, from the materials, there are 7 or 8 special permits.
Yeah.
For the property.
Already.
So the mixed use is permitted by special permit, right? We're just establishing that it is a mixed use,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Didn't we just make mixed use by right?
Did we just make it mixed use by right? I guess I
Not
wasn't
in the
thinking of it.
B2.
Well,
It's just Stockbridge Road, not B2.
Well, that's a good question. I thought so.
yeah, I think it was just because we had the map that showed the area that would apply that.
Chris, what?
A mixed use is special permit in the B2.
What?
The question was the amendment at town meeting, was it just for the Stockbridge Road portion of the B2?
The amendment at town meeting was relative to,
Affordable housing.
Which is the
Housing.
affordable
Right,
housing.
okay.
so
Make mixed use by right?
it didn't make the mixed use by right now.
It just made.
Chris, why does this have to go through ZBA?
Well, as the applicant's attorney stated, the structure is non-conforming. It's, I think there are 4 or 5 previous ZBA special permits and determinations on the property. It's been in their jurisdiction for years and
It's
years
just because it's in
And
the
so one-
jurisdiction.
because it's non-conforming. So the changes to the structure and to the uses require ZBA sign off.
So it's almost like a modification of all the special
In
permits
a
that govern
way.
the property?
Yes, some of them, I mean, there were a couple, there's a special permit to do the extension on the south side of the setback.
Mm-hmm.
Probably isn't implicated, but, yeah, a number of them deal with uses, including the most recent one, which was to install a single apartment on the second floor, but it was never exercised.
Okay. All right,
So our recommendation is just that they should.
either
approve
a
the
positive
use.
recommendation or a negative recommendation, yeah, I mean, so my understanding is that really the makeup of the mix is not changing, so there's not an increase or decrease, it's just making it legal and being acknowledged, right?
It's like the airport.
Yeah. With less controversy.
We hope.
So, any questions, Jonathan?
No, I think we need housing and, this is gonna make it legal and
Well,
bring it
this
up to
is,
code. I think that's a good
Okay,
thing.
Jeremy,
same.
Malcolm?
Same? Got nothing.
Yeah, this
Nothing
is
for you?
not a
No,
moneymaker.
Pedro? Okay,
There
yeah.
are 3 employees of the bagel store and a carpenter living up there.
Yeah, no.
It's low rent.
No, I think we do need all sorts of housing. So,
I move to
motion,
send a positive recommendation to ZBA,
On the special permit.
for this special permit.
thank you,
Second.
Malcolm. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jeremy will second that. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
luck, sir. Let's see. So item number 4, board and subcommittee updates, issues and concerns. I talked to Steve Bannon and he would like very much to schedule a joint meeting between the select board and the planning board. I did outline to him what we discussed at our last meeting, where we were talking about potentially starting some community conversations around planning and zoning and housing and some of the reaction I've been hearing from you guys in terms of people's maybe interest in being a little more educated or confusion about the process and trying to start some dialogue there. Also in terms of reviewing where we are in the master plan, and given that it's now 10 years old, and maybe these are some preliminary conversations around identifying items and issues for an update to the master plan. So he was very open to that. I think it'd be somewhat incumbent upon us to try and outline an agenda, keeping in mind that they're only going to have probably an half an hour to an hour to like have a crunch meeting with us, and then we could have a subsequent follow-up meeting. But he was thinking for one of their July meetings, depending on what our availability is, we could tack on in front of their regular meeting. So I don't know, Chris, if you know more about their meeting schedule, but
Second and fourth Mondays.
Mhm.
Is that what you were?
yeah. So we wanted to see it first, if we could establish a date that works for a majority of this board. And I apologize, Jeremy, I know early can be
No,
harder.
my schedule changed, so now I'm free Monday evenings.
Oh, okay, all right, great.
Just.
Yeah, so that'd be the 10th or the 24th. Vacation schedules, things like that for folks, I know will come in.
Well, I have an historical commission meeting on the 10th. which
Okay.
Can be moved.
Is
So
that late or early? What time is that?
5 to whatever, 6.
Oh, okay.
They're not long, but they are. So I prefer the 24th. We could,
July, right?
July 24th?
yeah.
Does that work for the majority of the board?
Women's World Cup.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, we'll have to record it.
I don't even know what time it is. It's Australia.
You'll have to watch it in the middle of the night, Jeremy.
Anyway.
These will be watching recordings, right?
July,
Really
does July
tired.
24th work for you, Pedro?
Yep.
Yes?
Good.
Okay, so we'll
Uh,
tentatively set that date, and it would be for the hour preceding there. So they have a 6 o'clock start,
Usually.
so 5 o'clock start.
Can I add an item
Yes.
to the agenda? I think we should discuss the joint housing subcommittee,
I think that's a
what the
great idea.
status is
Yeah.
and whether there's, what the charter is going forward, if any.
Well, is there a threshold question of should it continue to work?
Yeah, what's its
Yeah.
purpose at this point?
Well,
You know,
I would rather. So I think we could get to purpose, but like it's an up or down first, and then if it's a yes, let's continue with that joint
Well,
subcommittee.
I would suggest a discussion before we have an up and down vote. But,
Okay, I'm just worried so we should think about a way to sort of like bind it in context
Mhm.
and not, because it could be a very wide ranging discussion, right?
Malcolm, do you think the subcommittee will have this discussion on its own before?
Yes,
Okay.
and
Thank
I'm sure we will, because I'm gonna bring it up, but I think we've done a report, the select board. We've identified things that the select board can do, we've identified things the planning board can do, we could identify things that neither can do, and So where do we go from there?
Okay. Will this subcommittee come with their recommendation then?
I have no idea.
Okay, understood.
Jeremy and I might agree on that, but I don't even know if Jeremy agrees with me on this.
Okay, the next thing would be, initiating some community conversations and maybe coming up with a list of topics that would be the purview of those community conversations, citing them in Housatonic and in Barrington. Maybe like the same topic into venues just to make
Yeah,
it
good idea.
accessible to people. I know Jackie had some thoughts on that, but she and I haven't had an opportunity to connect, but maybe you guys can just email your ideas.
Yeah, between now and July 24th, we
Yeah,
should.
we've
have
got
come up with-
plenty of time. Is there anything else in a joint meeting that we can think of right now? I mean, we don't have to set an agenda right now, but I just wanted to get everybody.
No, but you mentioned the reviewing or looking at the master plan,
Right,
and that's a long range thing, and that's really just a question of whether there's interest or not at this point, and then how we're gonna proceed. But
yeah, in past years, Chris has provided us a spreadsheet, because you've been tracking kind of how we're working through the different goals and objectives, so I don't know if that takes the form of a separate meeting, like a master plan review meeting that's jointly reviewed by the planning board and select board.
I
or-
would think it would.
That's our-
you know.
That's our purview.
That's
It's not
us,
the-
right?
It's not the select board. purview.
Yeah.
But the
Let's
only-
approach it in more of a cooperative.
It's not shutting on board,
Neither one.
but.
But the review, I mean, it's our purview to call the review of the master plan, right?
So maybe we do that as work before our joint meeting and use that to inform an agenda.
Yeah.
If there's anything that, I mean, I think that's how we came to the housing subcommittee, right? We started saying, oh, there's issues
Well,
here
all
that,
these has the things that have been addressed.
yeah, that need the select board to weigh in on.
And the trust thing is on there, right? That's part of the discussion about having maybe more members on the trust, maybe more board seats on the
I
trust.
hadn't been thinking of that, but,
Well,
Some
Yeah.
planners,
yeah, I thought that was part of our, in
yeah,
our
sure.
discussions.
we should put planners on the select board too. though.
How many planners
Yes.
actually live in Great Barrington, Chris? Do you know?
We'll never tell.
Well,
There's gotta be like
a
a
secret
secret,
society.
yeah, exactly, a secret coffee
Secret
clutch
society.
of planners that are
I mean, I
meeting.
think those,
We know who each other are.
if you're gonna really fund the trust, I mean, you might, so like this CPA or the CPC has, all those members from all, I mean, I know that's, a lot of those are state mandated, but it might be nice to have input from different boards, direct input from different boards.
So you're proposing to put members from other boards on the Affordable Housing Trust, or you?
Well, yeah, I'm
thinking about
wondering,
expanding the
well,
CPC?
what, I mean, I think Jonathan was, well, I think expanding, because they only have 5 members, right? I mean, it would fill up really quickly if you put a,
I'll be
planning
honest,
board.
I don't know what their makeup is or who is sitting on that.
And
off the
they
top of my head.
yeah,
Yeah,
but, I mean, I would assume you would
have
want a
hours
select
to
board
spend.
member on it. And you probably want a finance committee on it.
You could probably find their charter, their bylaw
mhm,
on the town website.
mhm. Yep. That's true. Okay, so I will circle back with Steve and I'll just email him and copy you if that's okay. And tell him the 24th would work for us, and between now and then we'll work up an outline agenda that we can discuss. Okay,
Good.
okay, great. He seemed very pleased that we were suggesting that, so that's great. All right, any other board issues or concerns? Pedro? No, not
No.
yet. Okay, Malcolm?
No.
No? Jeremy? Jonathan?
I don't think I'm on any other.
We'll
Has it-
invent
has
one
it-
for
has it
you.
Islamic Advisory Board? Members of-
Jackie's the rep.
And Jackie,
So,
yeah.
Jackie's on the DAC.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right, town planners report?
Just a few quick things. Well, the DAC will have some action soon. So,
Really?
yes. I think we'll probably get a special permit at some point soon for some work in the downtown. I'll probably know more about that at the next meeting. Last meeting, we talked about me providing this board with an update on the town's complete streets plan. I haven't been able to get to that, but I'd like to shoot to do that, like for your July 13th meeting. Also at that July 13th meeting, we've determined that the proposed improvements to the Mansfield parking lot are actually subject to site plan approval by this board, so we'll be bringing an application before you for the parking lot work at Lake Mansfield.
Can we do a site visit
Yes.
Bathing
Site
suits?
visit.
and a
Very-
barbecue?
Very advisable, actually.
Yeah, because we didn't do our,
We haven't.
Okay, so on the 13th, let's let Chris finish.
Hopefully, with any luck, we'll see some proposals for site plan and special permits for the Houston School renovations. The designated developer is working very hard on the preliminary work there. The select board hasn't yet signed all the legal paperwork for the purchase and sale, but the developer's moving things along on the ground. So hopefully we'll be dealing with that also. And it occurs to me, maybe in terms of the master plan update, Brandy, I could bring, you know, that update, that spreadsheet to this board in June or
The end of
July.
June.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do the end of June.
And then that kind of gives you a preview going into your joint meeting with the select board.
Yeah. Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
So that's it. Your next meeting is very light. You could all take a break if you want. Just saying.
Are you gonna be on vacation at that
I
time?
would really like to be. So that's all I have.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much. Do we have any citizens?
We do, we have one citizen, Catherine, but she was
Would
probably
the
here
citizen like to speak?
for 77 Main. She may have forgotten that she's still logged in. Catherine, you're the only one.
It's citizen speak time, so if the individual online has any desire to speak, please raise your hand on Zoom and Chris can unmute you. All right, seeing no hand raising, there's nothing else, we'll adjourn at 6:22.
Dinner?